Hi, my name is Ruman Khan, and in this video I'll be showing how to add client ID enforcement on MuleSoft API Manager. So I've currently logged in into API Manager, and what I have here is I have already created a new API Manager which is pointing to basic endpoint, and it's pointing to this particular URI. Let's copy this. And as you see, this doesn't have any authentication on top of it, so we can just navigate to this particular URI directly. So let's come back to API Manager and click on Policies, Apply New Policy, and select Client ID Enforcement. So as you see, there are like two options to add Client ID enforcement. One is using custom expression and second is HTTP Basic Authentication Header. Let's first look at the custom expression. So in custom expression, Mule is looking for a client ID in a HTTP query parameter, and it's also looking for a client underscore secret in the same HTTP query parameter. So let's apply. Okay. Let's go back to our API. And as you see, the policy is already applied, and you can see there is an error indicating missing underscore client ID. So now let's go back to our API manager, and in order to get the client ID and client secret, you will have to create a new portal. Let's edit the portal. So in the portal, you can basically add any information relating to your API. So I'll just say testing client ID enforcement and save that. And by default, your portal is private. Let's make it public. And also the page is invisible. Let's set that as public. You can also add multiple other things like multiple pages, API notebook, reference header, external links over here, which I'll probably cover in a different video. Let's go to the live portal now. So this is the portal all the clients would have to come into to get the access to the API. So they will have to click on request API access, and since there are no applications right now, so application here corresponds to the clients who are wanting to use your API. So let's click on new application. I'll say client one. Let's say test. These are non-mandatory fields, so I'll just leave it as blank. Say add. And once I hit on request API access, an email goes out to the admin and they will have to approve it. Right now, by default, this is set as auto approval. So if I hit on request API access, this would be auto approved and I'll get a client ID and secret. So my request was approved, and here is my client ID and secret. So let's copy this client ID and go back to our API. Let's add client underscore ID equal to this. And now you can see the error says client underscore secret is missing. So my client ID was validated, but since client secret is missing, let's go back here, copy this. So as you see, we are now able to successfully access the API with the right client ID and secret. Let's just try to give a different secret, see what happens. So nope, it doesn't like it. So it is indeed validating the client ID and secret. So let's go back to the API manager. So coming back to our API manager, the client applications can be viewed here. So all the clients which have requested access to all of your APIs can be viewed under client applications. So this is one stop for every single API. But if you want for the specific clients, so you can go back to API manager, click on the API manager and applications. So you can also see the client ID, clients for the particular API inside the applications tab here. So the difference between this and the one which we saw on API administration is here you can only see the client ID, but at this level you can see both the client ID and secret. So, and you can also manage like delete the client applications or revoke the permissions or remove the users. Now let's go back to our API and hit policies. Come back here and hit edit. Now let's try out the same thing with the HTTP Basic Authentication header. So once I hit that, there is no expression, and what it is doing is it's basically validating the client ID and secret inside the HTTP Basic header. So let's apply this, and let's go back to our URL and try to refresh it again. Looks like my maybe the API is cached in the browser. Let's just open a new incognito window. And I'll paste the URL here, and you can see that it's now asking for a username and password. Let me just copy the client ID and the client secret as password here and login. So as you see now, I'm able to access my API via HTTP Basic Header Authentication. And if I modify anything with the client secret here, it should still be fine because the access is via the HTTP Basic Header and not from the URL itself. Hope this video was helpful. Thank you.